Oh my gosh, I am so excited. Today I am interviewing the author of this book right here, which is on display, but because of the way cameras work, it's backwards. I am going to now try to add Tracy inside. We're hoping against hope that technology cooperates with us. Let's see, everyone cross your fingers. Ah!
Hey, we did it! Oh my golly!
Oh my gosh.
This
I'm
is
so proud of us right now.
I know. This is my first time doing one of these, and I'm so excited. And hi, look at you. You're even cuter in real life.
Thank you. That's very sweet. I'm excited. I'm glad we got it to work. Well, welcome to your first ever live on Instagram.
This
So
is
exciting.
fantastic. This is great. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Yay!
Me too. I waited all day. All day.
I know. It looks like lots of people are jumping in, so this is fantastic.
Yes. Hi, everybody. So glad you guys could pop in. So I guess let's not waste any time. Let's get right to this thing. Are you ready? Okay. Well, everyone.
I'm totally ready. Let's go. Let's go.
This is Tracy, and as I said right at the start, she is the author of this book, which was reversed to you because that's how cameras work. Making Space Clutter-Free, the last book on decluttering you'll ever need. It's a book I absolutely loved. It made my best of the year list. So, I mean, that says a lot in itself. And I just think your approach is so practical and realistic and approachable to real human beings, you know, which I am. And I just loved your approach. So I guess if everyone's ready, I'm just going to jump into the first question that I have prepared, which is, in your book, you talk about what you call the clutter crisis. And I was wondering if you could speak to what changes in our society you think have made the overcollection of stuff so prevalent in the present day as opposed to even like 50 or 60 years ago.
Well, I think it's a double whammy. I think it's the combination of cheap consumer goods, right? That as things got shipped overseas to be made and the cost came down, it was so much easier to, it's so much easier to buy and accumulate. So I think that was a huge part of it. And I got to say, it's online shopping. I mean, you don't even have to put your pants on to go shopping anymore. You know, when I was when I was little, right? 50 years ago, it's like you would go to the store, right? Your mom would be like, let's go. You get dressed, you go to the store, you drive, you bring it back. Now it's like Instacart and Amazon. So I think it's a perfect storm of things getting cheaper, materials getting cheaper, single-use plastic, and the ease in which we can shop. And we've lost the connection between paying money for something, right? We just type a credit card into Amazon, and then, I mean, I joke, I have a front desk in my building, and I'll order something, and I get a little text that says you have a package, and I'm always like, oh, someone sent me a present. And it's like, no, you paid your hard-earned money for that. No one sent you a present. So I think we've lost like the accountability that we're going out and we're shopping and we're buying and bringing it in. We're losing the mindfulness around it.
Yeah, I agree. It used to be like an event in itself, and it's interesting how it affects so many other things. Like, for instance, just clothing, which is something I've been studying. I feel like, you have to buy more clothes that are cheaper, but that don't last, instead of buying nice clothes that last you even a couple of years. Like, the mindset has totally shifted, and it's almost like it happened without us realizing it happened, and then you look around and there it all is.
I think you're exactly right. I think the very first pair of, I know exactly, they were $250. They were the first real expensive shoes I bought with my own money in the 90s. I just recently got them resold. I still wear them, and I saved up to buy them, and they were really well made. And I just the other day got a pair of flats that I don't know, I paid on sale. They were like $24, and it's like, it's about fewer, better things. And we're also not teaching people how to fix and repair, right? Like, you don't sew a button on. You're like, well, this was $4 at the Gap, so I'll just go get another one. And I think that, people say to me all the time, clients, when I go to their house, they're like, I don't know how it got like this. Like, how and I'm like, well, you brought it in. Like, it didn't walk in on its own 2 feet. And I also think there's a really interesting correlation that pre-streaming entertainment, we you had appointment TV, right? You knew your show was on at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. So you'd come home from work and you'd have this chunk where you could neaten up your house or declutter or do a little bit of work. Now that we can watch whatever we want, whenever we want, we've lost that time. So I think that there, right? So I think that there's, I think that there's this, it's just a disconnect that to your point, and why I think it's a clutter crisis is that we're not understanding all these other factors. We're not realizing that Jeff Bezos, who I know is going to come gunning for me one day, is working very hard to keep us shopping.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's such a great point. Yeah.
So it's about mindfulness there.
Yes. No, I agree. And I think it impacts so many other things in our life. I think when most people consider the word minimalist or decluttering or organized, they kind of get, like, they picture an extreme, like a bare bones room, like nothing on the walls. And I like to encourage people away from that sort of idealized, like, perfect mindset, because I think it's not realistic, and it makes the entire possibility of creating like a happy, clutter-free home seem really impossible to the average person. So what I like about what you present in your book is that it's real, it's relatable, and there's a passage actually on page 9 that I think really encapsulates what you offer that's unique in this genre, this niche, and I would like to read it actually, if that's cool.
Yay! I love it.
Okay. I think it does a really good job of just like presenting your perspective, and it says, happiness is what I am going to be bringing this conversation back to throughout this book, because that's what I care about for you and everyone I work with. I actually don't care if your towels are put away in rainbow order. I don't need your canned goods to match. I don't need your living room to look like a Japanese temple or your paperwork to be in pretty folders. I don't care about Pinterest. I care about your well-being. I care about you being free, because once you are, your home will support you living your fullest, most enjoyable life, and your home is a tool. So I was wondering if you could talk about the idea of your home being a tool for your life, and how the state of our living space can mirror our external life.
So I feel like your home needs to be restful, shareable. If you want to have people over, you may not, and usable, right? Your home is a place that you sleep, you eat, you restore. I mean, it's ultimately a tool. So it needs to work for you. And this is the thing about, I've worked with, I think I'm up to like my 2,000th client or something. Everyone's home is a little different. Everyone's need is a little different. I'm with with my partner, but he lives in another apartment. So I'm mostly by myself. So my needs are very different than a family of 5. So I don't have a prescribed, it needs to look this way. And, it's interesting that you brought up minimalism. I like to say that I'm asking people to simplify as opposed to be a minimalist. And so I want you to be able to walk through the door, know where you put your keys, know where to find them in the morning, be able to eat dinner at your kitchen table and to cook in a clean kitchen, sleep on a bed that doesn't have clothes on it, get dressed in the morning in a closet that's not exploding. I want your house to support you, and however you want to decorate it. And if you like more little things than I do, fantastic. I want you to be happy in it. But I always tell people, like, as you go, by the time somebody calls me or now picks up the book, something's not working, right? They're like, I can't get my kids out the door. I can't get dressed in the morning. That's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in how it looks. I want it to look beautiful for you, but I'm interested in how it's working and how it's supporting you. That's
the practicality of it.
I want you to get out the door. Look, life is hard enough and stressful enough. I want you to be rested in here and supported in here and loved in here. And so it's really about, is your stuff, aka clutter, some of it, getting in the way of what you want to be doing?
Yeah, and I think it's surprising how much it does impact your life. You almost don't realize it. And I had a few like mind moments reading your book where I saw myself in some of the examples you used. And I think for me personally, when I started learning like what I call being house proud or just like taking an interest
House
in
proud.
that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
it's
was,
great.
it's not about perfection. It's just like, you know, I make my bed every morning, not because I feel like I have to, but because I want to, because I feel like I deserve that. And because house elves don't exist, as far as I know, I'm still looking.
Right.
But, you know.
They do. They're just expensive.
Yeah. I feel like no one's going to do that but me. And so it's about ownership of my space. And it's kind of like a gift to your future self. That's how I look at it. Like when I prepare things, when I'm tidying up, it's like when I wake up the next morning, I will feel so good looking into this and knowing that it's mine, that I did it, and that I was a part of the whole process of it. And it allows me to live my life in a way that I want to. It's not perfect yet. No, I don't think anyone's ever is.
It's never going to be perfect. I was
Yeah.
talking to these two young women in their mid-20s the other day, and they were here shooting some things, and they were sort of talking about my closet, and you know, and look, my closet's great. I mean, I love it, and it makes, but I'm a fan of the uniform. I know what shirts work for me. I know what jeans work for me. I just buy what I know. And they were both saying how they got dressed every morning out of their laundry basket, that they sort of dig through and find something. And I was like, how does that make you feel? And they're like, awful. It makes me feel like I'm starting the day rushed, that I'm just putting some schmata on. And I was like, you know, here's the thing. It's not about putting your clothes away because your mom's telling you to clean your room. It's about saying, like, I work a big job. Like, I'm proud of what I do. Yeah. I want to start the day. Your clothes in some ways are a suit of armor, right? To kind of protect you out in the world. So if you're digging through your dirty laundry or clean laundry, you're not going to feel protected. So they were both like, oh, wow, you know? And so
it's weird how much it impacts your life.
Yeah, and that's what I want people to know, that this isn't about shaming you into having a neat, clean room. This is about supporting you and sending you out into the world like, ta-da, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the common reasons you think people, or in your experience, people reach that tipping point and decide that, like, now's the time, I've got to do this. I've got to declutter.
I think there's two factors. I think one is, there are three factors. One is some event is happening. People are coming to visit. You're having a party. There's something where all of a sudden you see it from outside eyes and you're like, oh my golly, like this guest room that's now turned into a Home Depot, you know, a storage depot I can't use. I think that's one. I think another is the stress hits a level where they can't take it anymore, where they're like, I can't find what I'm looking for. I can't sleep in my bed. You know, they've done so many studies about stress, clutter and stress, that in women particularly, it jacks our cortisol, which is our fight or flight hormone. And when women have high cortisol, it gives us belly fat. So, you know, people are realizing like, oh, this stress is too much. I can't, I need to do something. And the third is, and I get this a lot with women in their sort of late 40s, 50s, 60s, where they go, they see the end, and they're like, I'm the only one who knows where everything is. I don't want to pass away and have this happen. A lot of times people have had to clean out their parents' or grandparents' home after they've passed, and they're like, oh, I don't want to leave this mess. Yeah. So I think it's a realization of like, I don't want to live like this anymore. And there's help out there, which is great.
Yeah. No, that's so many great points. And I'm sure that a lot of people will relate to each of those. I think you kind of get to these points where you don't even realize it. And I go through phases where I'm like super good with the stuff that I've prioritized to care about. Like I like horizontal stuff clear. And then there'll be phases where suddenly, you know, I look over and I'm like, when did I let that go? You know what I mean?
But, and look, here's the thing. You
know the tools.
Right. And decluttering and staying organized takes maintenance. Like that's the other thing. It's not, unlike another very popular organizing expert out there who says you do it once and you never need to do it again. I'm like, I don't know where you live, because the holidays just happened. And even though I asked people to not give me gifts, they came in. Like, you have to, you know, I always tell people, if you can't neaten up a room, you know, just put it back together, put everything away, you get it ready for company in 20 minutes, clutter's gotten the upper hand.
Yeah. I could totally agree with that. Yeah.
Right? You're like, oh, 20 minutes. I can tidy this up and have somebody over. But if you're like, oh my God, it's just going to take me 2 hours to do that, clutter's gotten the upper hand. So there's a level of maintenance, and there's a level of, you know, for me, like my to-do list, my weekly kind of big plan, I do it every Sunday night because I like to wake up Monday morning. And so it's the same thing, like maybe every Sunday you spend an hour putting your house back together so you start the week from a strong place.
Yeah. And that's what I like about your book, is that I feel like it's for anybody. You can start wherever you are. And it's so approachable in that way. It's not about being at a certain point. It's just like, if you're ready, like your systems make sense to me for like real people, the average person who has these problems. And I didn't feel judged at all.
No, and look, I've been doing this, still I have a very, very, very successful decluttering business. I've been doing this for 13 years. I am in someone's home 4 to 6 days a week, and I know what works. I know what works for seniors who are downsizing. I know what works for a family with little kids. I know what works for someone who just like, there's nothing I haven't seen. And so that's what made me want to write this book, is like, I know this works. I know it works. And, you know, and so it's really great. I've been getting so many lovely emails of people like, it's just, they're putting it into practice. It's great. Yeah. It just makes me so happy.
I guess lots of people seem to want to declutter and make that change, but then they have trouble completing what they envision. What do you think tends to lead to failure when people are attempting to declutter? And alternatively, like, what do you think leads to success?
I think failure is they don't have a solid plan. I don't think they're realistic about the amount of time it's going to take, the amount of work, physical and emotional. And by a plan, I don't think that people go like, all right, I need X amount of hours, and at the end of it, I'm going to book, you know, the nonprofit to come pick up my stuff for donate, or I'm going to book the trash hauler. They don't follow the steps all the way through. So they get partly there. And that's great. In the book, I lay all this out. Like, here's everything that's going to happen. And so they don't, it's an old saying, like, plan your work your plan, but it fits. Yeah. Like, you've got to know, and maybe they need help and they don't realize that they need help, or they don't block the amount of time in. So I think that is and I also think, and this is where the book and the clutter blocks really come in, people don't take into account that it's going to be emotional, that they're going to hit up against memories and grief and shame, and all that stuff is going to come up, as it should, because it's a process, but they're like surprised that they feel it, and then they just shut down. So I think that that's what leads to, I don't want to say failure, but derailment, right? I mean, that's what leads to derailment. And then for success, it's the people who have an amazing vision, know where they want their home to be, who understand that it's a process. I mean, I joke with clients all the time. I'm like, Rome did not get cluttered in a day. Like, this is going to take a little while. So, and they get support, and they're realistic about the project. You know, one of the things I like to tell people is to start small. You know, start with a junk drawer or your linen closet. Like, don't start with the photos from your family members who are deceased. Like, don't go there. And what happens is, if you start small and you're successful and you're like, this feels great, let me tackle the next bigger thing. So again, it's about people being successful. It's not about shaming them. A lot of times when people are coming to me or doing this decluttering work, they're already wrapped in so much shame. You know, they've been told their whole lives that their room is messy, and it's like, I don't even take that off the table. Like, we're not even going there. What matters is that you want to make a change, and I'm here to support that change.
Yeah, that's awesome. Everything you said is really reflected in your book, and I feel like you prepare people to tackle it. And it's just, I keep saying it, but it's just so realistic. So we did have a few audience submissions for questions. Really fun. So I thought, if you're ready, we could go ahead and dive into those.
I love caller questions.
Yes, exactly. So a popular one was, how do I get started without feeling overwhelmed? That was from Jennifer at Jennifer Gregson, author, and Melanie at Watermelonies. So how do I get started without feeling overwhelmed?
So this is fantastic. So the first thing is I want you to spend a day or two just going through your regular life, like paying attention when you're making breakfast, paying attention when you're getting dressed, and seeing where the log jam in your house is. Where is it not working smoothly? Where are you like, this makes me crazy? And then once you do that, really create the vision for, I want this room to be clean. I'm helping a client right now clear out a room because she's taking on this big illustrated book project. And I'm like, this is going to become your project room. She's been trying to do this for years. So she has this goal that she's excited about. So it's like, the hard decluttering work is going to pay off. So it's realizing where your home doesn't work, realizing the vision that you want, why are you doing this, and then creating a plan, which means blocking out time, getting help if you need it, making sure you have the right supplies, and be realistic about the amount of time that you have. If you work 60 hours a week, you're not going to come home at the end of the day and declutter. You're just not.
Yeah.
So maybe you need to take a vacation day and do a 3-day weekend. Like, be very, very realistic about your time. And those things, and also in the book, there's, again, a plan that lays it out so clearly, and that's going to motivate you. You want to really, it's so exciting. So many people are joining. I can't believe it. I'm like seeing all these people come up. I'm like, this is so fantastic. But it's really about focusing on what are you going to gain? What do you get out of decluttering versus, I have to declutter because I've been messy all along. Brene Brown says, guilt is I did a bad thing, and shame is I am a bad person. What I always want to say is like, okay, it doesn't matter, it matters how you got here because you need to change your thought process, but that's not what we're talking about. We're moving forward. So what's your goal? For my senior clients, they want to clean out a bedroom because they want their grandkids to come and spend the weekend. You do want to have people over. Be very positive, goal oriented.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think if people get your book, what really helped me was the clutter blocks you talk about. You have 7 clutter blocks. And I'm actually going to talk about them in a YouTube video because I'm having so much fun gossiping about your book because But I think that helped me. It's almost like therapy. It helped me think about the way I think. And I saw myself in some of those blocks. And then every time I would come up against that, it was like I would recognize that thought pattern that you had outlined. And I would know the bridge, as you say, to tackle it. Once you recognize it, I feel like it's easier to understand your thinking about it, your emotions about it, and then make change based on that. So
And I think what's interesting about the clutter blocks for people is that stuff comes into our life with no meaning, right? It just shows up, it has no meaning. And we attach the meaning to it. So we write these very complicated stories, very complicated narratives, and you have the ability to change the narrative, which is super exciting. It's so great. So in working with all of these thousands of clients, I saw these same 7 narratives come up, these blocks, these clutter blocks. Everyone had them in a different way. And I was like, there's that again. There's that again. That person said that. So I clearly identified them. And people are like, I'm a 3 and a 7, and I'm a 1 and a 5. And it's like, and when you start to see them, you're like, this is my block. This is what my thought process. Okay, let me move past this. Let me move past it. Let me change my perspective. And it's really freeing to people. And what's interesting is people are starting to apply these blocks to their relationship with food. I know. It's very interesting because clutter block number 2, which is my stuff tells me who I am, is, it's very much about I shop, and shopping is my identity, and, I have all this fancy stuff. But I'm doing a cleanse. It's January and I live in LA, so I think we have to do a cleanse. So I've given up sugar and all this stuff, and I'm realizing my identity is, I'm a foodie. I'm a this kind of person. And that's wrapped into my relationship with food, which is fascinating.
Yeah. No, that's such a great point. I felt when I described it in my best of the year video, and I think in my review video of it too, I said that, oh God, I just completely lost my train of thought. That happens to me all the time.
I know. I totally know. I might come back to me. Yeah, I'll be looking at clients and go, I think I was supposed to say something very smart here.
It might come back to me by the end, but until it does.
Well, and the interesting thing, Bex, about the clutter blocks too, is that as your life changes, you may have different ones, right? Like my seniors who are downsizing are dealing with something very different than my young families. So that's, where you go through your life. And if you're in a situation where there's a Colleen McCubbin just joined. That's so cute. Another McCubbin.
Colleen, this is Tracy McCubbin.
I know, that's so fantastic.
You've got to connect after this.
And also if you're in a position where you're cleaning out, your parents' house after they passed away, those are going to bring up a whole new set of clutter blocks that you don't necessarily deal with on your daily level. So that's the great thing about this book, is that it's kind of a reference for our whole lives, that we can go back and go, I'm dealing with this. This is really difficult. Why is this so upsetting? Oh, okay. So that's really been exciting.
The book is a toolbox. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, it's really packed full and so practical. And that's one of my pet peeves with nonfiction, like self-help, is being impractical. So I extra loved that yours is so practical. Like you're not pretending to say something, you are saying something, and something important,
It's funny too, because I never intended to write a self-help book. I was like, I'm writing a how to declutter book. This is like, to me, this was like literally like, like those old Sunset books about like how to remodel a kitchen. Like it was very, and then I got to the end, and now Amazon's putting it as a self-help book. And I'm like, oh, I wrote a self-help book.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to say when I spaced. I was going to say that to me, it felt like more than a book on decluttering. It was about so many aspects of your life, and I just adored the heck out of it. So let's get to Darcia's question, which I think is a really good one. It kind of relates to me too. Darcia is a good friend of mine. So it's Darcia at Darcia Hell, and she asked, how do I declutter while living with a packrat?
Oh, yeah. Whew. This one. So full disclosure, the love of my life, who I met, is the messiest human. Like, thank you, universe. I was like, literally like,
I know,
wow,
that's
you just dropped this in my lap. And right now, the way we're dealing with it is that we have two houses. He has and I have mine. So here's the thing about decluttering and living with a packrat. The first place to understand is that for most people who are cluttered, they've probably heard this their whole lives. So they probably have a lot of shame. They feel very beat up about it. They feel very, I'm wrong, you're right, you're telling me I'm bad. So understand that. And we just did an office for a couple who one is not cluttered and the other one is. And we went through everything. He decluttered so much. And we gave him systems. So like he likes to save ephemera. Paper ephemera is his thing. So we gave him labeled boxes. We're not saying throw it away, but put it away here. And so for him, it was being able to know where his things were. It wasn't so much about you have to throw everything away. I want you to come and get it. So it's one, understanding that they feel very beat up anyway. And so it's about how you talk to them. And it's also about explaining, like, for me, decluttered means that I'm less stressed, or I can, and so I'm going to be more present with you in the relationship. Like, here's why I choose to be decluttered, and finding common spaces where you're like, all right, can we agree that like the kitchen is decluttered, and sometimes you just have to give them their own space where you're like, I'm never going to go in there. You do you, like, here's your own, and we don't all have the luxury of that, but it's about understanding. And so it's about, as a community and a couple, these are our communal spaces. Can we work together? I mean, I joke with my clients all the time. I'm like, marriage counseling is included, you know? So it's about explaining, but it's about explaining to them that this way of, it's not that your way is bad and I'm good. It's that this makes me less stressed and therefore I'm happier. The kitchen declutter means that I can cook for us and nourish us. So it's about the positive as opposed to making them wrong. And then give them their own space where they can just knock themselves out. That's the other one.
I think knowing the clutter blocks for each of you might be helpful too, because it's so eye-opening for me, and everyone has these different emotional reasons. Like my husband and I both have tendencies to hold on to stuff, but it's for different reasons and it's different types of things. So I think like we've been on this journey for a while together, and I mean, I think we've come really far. Like when I think back to where we were, it's kind of crazy and you forget to acknowledge the progress. But I think like we've done such a great job with our living area. I feel so good about it. Like our main we live in a small place, and I know Darcia lives in a smaller place too. So your clutter is like constantly confronting you. But that doesn't mean we don't have our areas. Like my office and his, like I work from home and he doesn't, but his computer, and he's really into 3D printing. He's super talented at like maker stuff. And so that's all in there. And it's like this small little room, and that's sort of what we've just decided, you know, it is what it is. And we call it the room of requirement because there's literally like, it's ridiculous. But I think what you said about the community spaces and like finding those bridges together as a couple is such a good point. I hope that was helpful to see it.
And I think just to underscore too for her is that it's about like, oh, there she is, Darcia. Hi. It's about understanding, like, maybe coming at it at a different approach and not making the packrat feel so beat up and bad, right? Like you're a bad person. It's like, here's why. And it's it's partnerships. It's a conversation. You just have to, and you know, for me, it's funny with my boyfriend, they're like, it's his apartment. I spend a very much amount of time with it. And I was like, his desk, I don't even look at it. And, you know, for me, I like the pantry organized. So I go over there, I organize it. He's like, oh, this looks great. He's not going to do it. But I just, like, his desk, he just does it. And so, you know, we found a way to make it work.
Yeah, you got to find your balance, I guess. But I think you made some really good points there. Another question, I'm going to throw in another one. One was, how do you keep clutter from building up? And a similar one was about, like, impulse shopping. And they felt like they just kept buying stuff and didn't need it. So I wonder if those are related questions in a way.
Yeah, they're a little bit related. I mean, how do you keep clutter from building up is a maintenance. It's, first of all, an awareness of how much you're bringing in. How much are you shopping? Yeah. What are you bringing in? And then it's about setting aside, you know, 20 minutes at the end of the day or every Saturday afternoon, or building in. Look, it's like going to the gym, right? Like you got to build the time in. You're not, unless you're crazy like me, you're not going to just, you know, clutter on a whim. So you've got to build the maintenance up, because the influx of stuff is constant. Yeah. So you have to know that you've got to put yourself on a maintenance program. And then in terms of the impulse shopping, I would say I would look at my clutter blocks, because you're getting something, right? You're getting a dopamine hit. I work really hard. I deserve it. There's something else in that shopping that's no different than having a glass of wine or eating a cookie, or, you know, there's something you're doing with that. And, you know, there are some really great tricks. One of the things I tell my clients is take the word need out of shopping. Like, I need a new pair of jeans. I'm like, well, you have 10 and you're not a rancher. So do you need or do you want? Right. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, when you kind of reframe your thinking of like, oh, this is a want, that's different. And that's really great. There's also some kind of personal finance tricks where you for the cost of it, for every, I think $50, you wait 24 hours to buy it. So if something is 150, if it's $150, you wait 3 days to purchase it. And then you see like, do I really? Yeah, but it's really about the want, that impulse. You're you're feeding something else. It's like the shopping is like smoking, like you're filling something else. So it's a mindfulness and realizing why you're, doing it. I was working with a client who has a shopping problem issue. We talk about it all the time. And I was like, take up tennis, like find something, one of the reasons people go to AA meetings is that time that they would have spent at the bar, they're somewhere being supported, being sober. Yeah. So if shopping's a thing for you, what's it? Can you go volunteer at the animal shelter? Is there something else you can do with your time that creates a meaningful interaction that is an exchange of money?
And it's more valuable. Like, I think it's almost like, in a weird way, like checking your phone impulsively. It's like those notifications, you are like looking for something more than what you are getting, and it's not giving it to you, so you keep doing it. I think it's a similar thing almost.
That phone thing, I think it's a thing, but I have like phone ADD where I can't, like, I'm finding myself, I'm like, no, I've started, my desire to check my phone has gotten so great that when I'm like writing or doing a project, I set a timer for myself. And I'm like, 30 minutes, you can't check your phone. And it's just this pull. So it's really, I think it's the same kind of thing. We're just looking for, I don't know what's going to come in that's going to change nothing. So it's like my boyfriend going, what you doing?
Don't know. Just checking it. Yeah. It's so,
you're checking in.
Well, I might do a feature on like digital well-being at some point in the future, but so I'll let you know if I do. But let's get to
it's real.
It is real. Let's get to let's see here. I can't read it because the sun's hitting it just right. Okay, so here's a good one. What about the stuff you just keep for nostalgia and which you only look at once a year?
This is great. So I think a couple things. I think that this is clutter block number 1. My stuff keeps me stuck in the past. Or clutter block number 6. I'm trapped with other people's stuff. So the thing about the memorabilia is it's not actually that we want that stuff. It's that we want to keep the memories. So I keep it, but I want it to be stored where you can find it. I don't want it in your everyday life. Like, what happens if you keep a lot of stuff about the past, it tells you that your best days are behind you. So if it can be stored in a way that you're like, that picture of me and my drunk friends in Cabo, I want to look at once a year. I know where it is, right? It's organized, it's in a box. I know where to touch it, but it's not in my everyday life. And that's the thing. So the stuff that's memorabilia, it's about storing it in a way, even get a pretty box or a pretty shoe box labeled, what's in it, where it is, but it's out of your everyday life. That's the real trick. And I will say this, if it's memorabilia that makes you sad, I'd invite you to look at that. I was at a speaking event and this woman was telling the story where she clearly was very close to her mother. Her mother passed. There were all these writing pens on her mother's nightstand the night she died. And so she grabbed them up and had them on her vanity. So she was getting ready every morning and looking at these pens from the most traumatic night and saddest night of her life. And we kind of hashed it out. And I was like, so every day you're starting the morning looking at a reminder of this terrible event. Like, what if you got a picture of your favorite day with you and your mom, or one of her favorite, you can honor her and remember her, but you don't have to remember the sad part. And it was such a revelation. Like, she was holding on to the pain, and so I think that's the other thing with memorabilia is are you holding on to the sad stuff?
I don't think people do it intentionally either. Like she probably put that there with the intention
this is
of
interesting,
something
Bex.
positive, and
this is really interesting. I've had many, many, many clients say to me, so I know it's not a one-off, that when they get rid of something like that, those pens, when they get rid of something from someone who's passed, they feel like they're losing them all over again.
Oh, yeah, it's an emotional thing. Like so much of our stuff is emotional.
Right. And so sometimes that stuff, I would put it in the unprocessed grief category, right? Like maybe you haven't processed the grief and it's never going to go away. I stole this directly from Dr. Phil. I give him 100% credit. But he always said about grief, he said the amount of time you spend grieving someone you loved who passed doesn't in any way reflect how much you love them, right? Some people can go through it quickly, some people do. And I always say the amount of stuff you keep from someone who's passed in no way reflects how much you love them. I love my grandmother more than, I mean, she was just my closest human. I loved her. I have 2 things of hers. I have a ring I wear every day and a purse. That's it.
And I mean,
every
like you
day
said,
I look at this ring,
a memory box.
I mean, and I wear the ring every day. So it just, you don't have to keep all of it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. And I remember that clutter block very well. So that got heavy, but it got real, which I love.
Yes, I know. We dip our toe in the heavy and then we go back and
Yeah, but that's like, it's part of life, so it's silly not to talk about it. And you do mention examples of that in your book that I thought were really lovely too. One from Lindsay at the Page Mistress. She couldn't be here on the live, but she's going to watch later. It's any tips for decluttering cabinets? I struggle with this in the kitchen and the bath. I feel like I just throw stuff in drawers. And I'm actually going to move you because I'm being blinded by the sun.
Oh, no.
Let's come with me. Come over here.
There we go. Look, here's the thing with cabinets is, first of all, before you put other stuff in, you've got to declutter. Bathrooms, kitchens, like a couple times a year, you got to pull everything out. Are there beauty products you don't use? You didn't like the scent. Is there food that you're not going to eat because you all of a sudden given up legumes, right? So it's about, you've got to clear out, and maybe there's something in the system of the cabinets that aren't working. Are they too deep? So do you need to put a bin in so that things are easier to get? Like, look at kind of the nuts and bolts, but I'm going to guess if you're just shoving things, as to use her word, I think is what she said, shoving things in, that you haven't done a purge. And so they're just so full that you're just like, ugh, I can't deal with it. So
she said I just throw stuff in.
Yeah, you just throw stuff in. So you got to pull everything out and get real with it. Do I use this? Do I like it? Exactly.
I need to do mine in my bathroom because it's kind of turning into that when I really only use like 4 things in there. So it's time.
I know. I just did my pantry kind of post holidays and it felt so good. Like I was like, oh, great. And by the way, I have so many lentils. Like,
who knew?
Exactly. I'm like, I guess I like lentils
too. I think like people underestimate that. Or you look at it like it's this chore that you're like, oh, I don't want to do this, but it can be fun. I think it's fun. It is so satisfying to me, like when it's over and you look at it and you're like, I did that.
Yeah,
and it's a good like active leisure thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like be realistic about like if it's not fun, like make it fun. Put on the music that you like or give yourself, but also again, it's it's how it feels afterwards. I mean, it's not unlike working out. You're like, I do not want to go to yoga.
Yes.
And you come out and you're like, I feel fantastic. So you gotta, look ahead to, I just also did my closet because I was like, New Year, I want to tidy it up. And I just open it in the morning and I'm like, I just know where everything is. I can just get dressed and get out the door. Yeah. It's fantastic. So it's really like, put the work in and the payoff is so fantastic.
Yeah. And I love that you're talking about this because it proves your earlier point that it's not a one and done. It's things are always coming into your life. Your life's always changing. It's about having the tools and recognizing your personality and the mindfulness of how you acquire things and how you process them through your life, you know?
Exactly. And again, for me, it's not, that's why I don't write, I don't say how many books you should have. I don't say how many clothes. I don't even comment. I'm not even a minimalist. It's about, if it's not working for you, here are the things that are making you stuck. That's what it's about. So it's about the end result that works for you. So I did just look at my to be read book pile, and I was like, ooh, I got to get to reading.
Hello.
I know. Wait, I have a question. This is a little off topic. Do you put the books that you are to read with the spines in?
No, but some people do that. This is like the most asked question I get is, why do you keep your books like that? And some people get so aggressive about it.
I saw some comments. I was like, whoa, slow your roll. Like, I got so protective of you. I was like, you all need to chill.
Well, thank you. It made me laugh because I was like, that was an intense response. And I've gotten a lot of those. It's kind of funny because it's not really my problem. It's like their problem. So it's kind of like humorous. But I switched it like this. I have a YouTube video on it because of the way it felt like it was falling in the room, because I read every genre pretty much. So there's a lot of reasons going into the decision that I won't like lecture on about now. But what it is everything is turned the other way except for books that are orange and blue, because that's our couch cushions. So it all like mixed together. And then I just put this away, The Godfather, because I was making a video. So that's supposed to be like this. But it just makes me feel better. DBR is separate.
Yeah, so for me, mine are organized by genre, right? Like I have all my books about organizing and home cleaning. My I call them my reference books. They're in one area. Yeah. And then my reading is different. And then I have, health and self-help is one. But then I have my bookcase is cubbies, and I only allow myself 3 cubbies of to be read. So
I'm supposed to only have 3 shelves of that.
Yeah, I know.
So I
know, but then I tuck a couple, and then I cheat on myself. I'm totally like, it's just, I can't. There's just so many good books out right now. It's crazy. Like my to be read.
It's not our fault.
I know.
I always say
great books. There's so many good books out right now. It's fantastic. I've been on a full reading kick. It's so great.
It's fun. You got to have fun with that phase. Well, let's do the last question, which is how to declutter your work life, which is a big question.
Oh, okay. I can speak to this because yesterday, I just nuked my voicemail box. I had voicemails going back to 2018 that I'd heard and listened to.
That must have been
and I just nuked the whole thing. So I think that I'm a fan. I mean, people will go crazy for this. I think but at the end of the year, I think you can just nuke your inbox. I think you just delete it, except for the month before. You can find everything, especially if you've been in a conversation. It's going to be in your sent folder. I think that idea of opening your email and seeing 20,000 unread emails is bananas. I also am a fan of 2 emails. I have my work email, and then I have my life email, and that's where I shop from and do all that. That's helped immensely because all that's in my work email is work. So that's great. And I think that, I think with work, it's the same. It's the maintenance. It's at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, making your to-do list, your phone calls. I'm a huge fan of productivity and to-do lists and checking things off. And, and I've tried a bunch of different planners and all that stuff. I do a legal pad. That's what I write on at the end of the day.
Cheap notebooks.
I do it. I rip it off. I think that the idea, I don't know how people can exist without a to-do list. I think we're so inundated with information that
I'm a to-do list person.
Like why would you rely on your brain? So I think that it's and I think the other thing about decluttering your work life is kind of saying no to some stuff. Like somebody just asked me to be on a board of a nonprofit, and I was like, no, like I really believe in what you're doing, but no, I can't. So I think that's, I think we got to start saying no. My brother, who's a climatologist and works at Jet Propulsion Laboratory, he says he feels like life is juggling three balls. Like there's work, there's family, and then there's kind of your playtime. And he's like, I got two. I can get two. It's that third one I can't get in. So I think it's about really like looking at the that third ball. Like, where are you going to take the time?
Yeah, I think for me, it leads back to like intentional living or simple living. There's so many words for it, slow living, which is what we've been doing for the past few years without even really realizing that it was a thing. But it's essentially just being intentional and doing things on purpose. And that means saying yes to things you really want to say yes to and saying no to things that you don't want to really say yes to, and being honest,
Right. And there's there's this interesting conversation of like, when all of a sudden, when did being busy become a virtue? Right? Like, oh, I'm so busy.
I don't know. That's a great question.
I mean, I think back to like my grandmother. I was like, I don't ever remember her saying I was busy. And she was like busy. She was like worked at the church and had a lot of friends, and but she was never like, oh, I'm so busy. And I'm trying, I'm really taking that one out. Like, oh, I have to do all this stuff. It's like, no, I'm choosing to. I'm going to do all this.
Yes. It's about how you look at it. And it's not easy. And I think it happened just like clutter, stuff like that, clutter in your like, not physical life. It happens without you realizing it. It just builds up, and then suddenly you look around and you're like, wow, like when did it become so overwhelming? And that's when you got to do something different. So
exactly. And to sort of full circle it, right? That it's going back to like the clutter crisis that we talked about in the beginning, that it's a mindfulness and an awareness. Like your clutter didn't walk in on its own 2 feet. Like you brought it in. It came with you. And so if you want to be decluttered and simplify, you got to do the work.
Yeah. And there's satisfaction in that work and a lot of fulfillment at the end. And your advice to start small, I think is great, because it gives you a taste of that right off the bat, instead of looking at this huge project and being like, oh my God, this is overwhelming in itself. Just start small with your decluttering. Let yourself feel that happiness and the satisfaction of knowing that you accomplished something. It's really an amazing thing. It's a freeing thing. I think it weirdly builds your confidence and your calm. It sounds silly, but it really does make a big difference.
No,
so,
that's
get this real quick.
But you got to go scoot. We got to scoot you over. You're getting in the sun again.
I know. I'm like, a little bit. But is there anything you want to add before we sign off?
I don't think so. I think this has been great. I'd love if people want to come visit me. I'm Tracy_McCubbin on Instagram. This is Tracy McCubbin on Facebook, because Facebook and it's, I'm not going to get into that. I am starting, which is exciting if I can talk about it, a private Facebook group. And it's called Conquer Your Clutter with Tracy McCubbin. And what's going to happen is we have about 300 members right now. And every Friday, I'm going to put a little decluttering challenge.
Oh, fun.
Something to tackle, and then kind of let the community support each other, all weigh in. So I'm really excited about that. So if you feel like you need an accountability group, that's going to probably start February 1st. So that's, if you go to This is Tracy McCubbin, it's Conquer Your Clutter with Tracy McCubbin. So I'd love to see people. Send me the link too,
and I can put it somewhere.
I'll do that. So I just, I want everybody, my tagline is, let's make space for what matters. Let's open up the space so you can live the life you want to live. Yeah, that's what it's about, really. It's just like increasing your happiness through actionable things that you can do. So I had a great time with you. And before we hop off, it was really fun. I just want to say one more time the title. Ooh, I can't win. It is Making Space Clutter-Free, the last book on decluttering you'll ever need. I will be putting a link to this after this. If Instagram cooperates and I manage to save this for YouTube, cross your fingers, then there will be a link in that video as well, so it won't be hard to find. Of course, the name is simple, easy to remember, so you can always look it up that way too. Great book. Highly recommend it. Thank you so much, Tracy, for hanging out with me. I seriously got a blast. It was so great. Love to meet everybody. Fantastic. Bye. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.